Hello.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
we can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay. I'm Mary Pius, and I'm a food scientist and also an SDG advocate. So from the
Welcome,
topic,
ma.
thank you very much. I'm actually having another meeting. It was supposed to be for 6:30. I was thinking we're going to keep to time, but I can see it's already 25 past 6. So I will just have to be very quick and brief with the topic we have today. So it states climate change, its effect on our agri-food production system and mitigation processes. Now we want to ask ourselves, what is climate change? How does it affect our agri-food system, right? And what is the role of man towards climate change? So from the basic explanation or definition of climate change, we can say climate change refers to long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. When we say long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns, we are saying that this climate change is as a result of either natural occurrence or the activity of man. I will always tell people when I have the opportunity to speak on climate change like this, that man is man's problem. Climate change did not just start overnight. From research, you will see that in the 1800s, that was when climate change started as a result of the activity of man. And man has been looking for a way to mitigate climate change, but rather they keep going back to the same things that brought about climate change. Now we have a lot of factors affecting agriculture, food processing, and a whole lot. Take Nigeria, for instance. We're a blessed country with a lot of natural resources, but because of our lackadaisical attitude to our climate, we tend to import things that we already have in abundance in Nigeria. When I sit down and look at the activity of Nigerians, for instance, towards the climate, the environment which we find ourselves, it breaks my heart and I feel like screaming on top of my voice whenever I see such things. But this platform is a very good platform for youth to understand that they have basic roles to play in order to mitigate climate change. Recently, I was having a conversation with a friend that believes that cloud fund and cloud seeding is one of the ways in which you can improve agriculture. And I began to wonder, and I did my research on cloud seeding, and I discovered that cloud seeding will have a ripple effect in future if we venture dive into it in Africa. Now, what is cloud seeding? Cloud seeding is an artificial way of forcing the cloud to precipitate and bring down rain when it is not yet raining season. And we all know that whatever activity we carry out as an artificial activity on nature, it will have a ripple effect and become disastrous. So I began to wonder why he was advocating for cloud seeding. Is it because of the money? And this fellow of mine said the earth will eventually get burnt. I was shocked for a youth to have said that kind of a thing. I mean, it is alarming. But then I just felt that it is time for us to begin to advocate and preach this thing called climate change and way forward. And I'm very delighted that we are having this conversation today. Like I said, climate change refers to long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. So whatever we do today is going to affect us in future. It might not be now, it might be later, it might be in 5 years' time, but we should know that whatever activity we carry upon the earth will have a ripple effect, either positive or negative. So let's run very fast. What are the effects of this climate change? According to research, it's estimated that by 2050, the global population will surpass. It's estimated that by 2050, the global population will surpass 9 billion. We all know what that means in terms of agro-food production. When we have a population of over 9 billion and we have an epileptic agricultural system, how do we intend to manage the growing population? That is a question we are supposed to ask ourselves as climate change actors, as people in agriculture. My first degree was on food science and technology, and I know how food science has been able to change the narrative when it comes to food preservation and the rest. But now we have agro-food production. How do we now mitigate this fast-growing menace? If we do not act fast, we may not live to tell the story before 2050. With the fast activity of man that is contributing to the rise of climate change, we as climate actors have to act fast. So now, we are looking at the effects of climate change. Climate change induced alterations such as drought. We know in the far north, there are a lot of cases of drought that has forced the herders to move away from their habitation, looking for greener pasture in the middle belts, coming into the city, which has led to herders and farmers clashes. This is as a result of climate change. Because if they are not experiencing drought or rise in temperature, they would not want to leave their abode to another man's place in order to search for greener pasture for their cattle and themselves. You can see how climate change has indirectly affected our society and also has brought about insecurity. These are the effects. Climate change brings about drought that leads to so many issues. Every precipitation, flooding of farmlands, rising in temperature, increasing soil acidity, and the likes. So, how do we now mitigate climate change? We are looking at agroecology as a sustainable way of mitigating climate change. Okay, so there was a loss in power. You know, we are in Nigeria, so the NEPA thing. So they just restored power now. So I'm going to be running very fast, like I earlier said. Mitigation through agroecology is one of the ways in which we can use to mitigate climate crisis in agriculture. Now, someone is wondering, what is agroecology? It is a sustainable farming, like, let's just put it in short. It is a sustainable way of farming that works with nature. The theory is by creating synergy and balancing environmental, social, and economic consideration. Agroecology can support food production, security, nutrition, as well as biodiversity, which is needed for sustainable agriculture, which we are lacking now in Nigeria and even in some parts of Africa. Now, what is the importance of agroecology to climate change? Agroecology farming helps to trap and store carbon in the soil, where conventional agriculture seeks to streamline agroecology, embrace complexity. When conventional agriculture seeks to streamline agroecology, it embraces the complexity. And where conventional agriculture aims to eliminate biodiversity, agroecology depends on this diversity and builds upon it. So in agroecology, there's recovery of forests, and it covers the structure and health of soil. It allows more water to be available and stored, right? Importantly, agroecology has the potential to contribute to farmers' income generation and sustainable agriculture. It is also imperative for us to note that agroecology transforms the agricultural system. And with the 4 major points, which I'm going to end with, is a way forward to have a sustainable agriculture in Nigeria and Africa. My dream is to see Africa or Nigeria be the food basket of the world, where people come and they feel like, yes, this is just like Benue State in Nigeria, which is the food basket of of Nigeria, but it is sad that the food basket of Nigeria imports things back into the States as finished products because of cases like this in terms of climate change and the rest. So here are 4 ways we can bring about sustainability in our agricultural system. We can look at science, the science of things. We can use the IoT. We've seen the smart farming. We've seen technology, how it works. I was doing a study on Israel smart farm and technologies they have. What is it called now? The way they grow their biotech, using biotech to ensure that there's continuity in crop yield and also bringing other species of crops. So we can use science, technology, and developing vaccines for animals that can keep them all through the process without having to struggle with what they call the animal disease or whatever it is called in science. These vaccines help animals to become bigger. It gives the livestock industry a boost, and it eradicates disease from their dwellings. It creates sustainability in their production. So the vaccine is called the irritadiation vaccine. I wrote it somewhere. I'm just trying to pick it out. Irritadiation technology. It is called a vaccine that is developed for animals to become bigger and more healthy for consumption. Because when we talk about agriculture, we won't leave livestock out of it. So with these few points about climate change and how to mitigate it, I hope that as climate actors, we will look into it and not just stop at this webinar, but also have the mind of pushing forward. And also, whenever we meet our peers, youths, gatherings, we tend to educate them about the danger of climate change and also how we as humans can play a vital role to ensuring that we mitigate climate change by reducing the activities that create harm to the environment. Thank you.
Much very proud for that. So we'll go over to the next presenter. We have Mrs. Chioma Perpetua. She's the CEO, Pelos Integrated Farms, Owerri. She's the founder of Davilia Foods and Organic Agro Producing and Processing Companies. She holds an MSc, a master's degree in environmental microbiology from Imo State University. She'll be talking more on organic farming and integrated farming, a way to combat climate effects in agriculture. Mrs. Choma, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Oge, and greetings to everyone here. It's a pleasure to have us all in this webinar. I'm sorry, I actually planned to make use of my system, but the power system in this country is not fun. So my system just ran down, but thank God for the phone, I can use the phone. All right, so back to what we are looking at. We are looking at climate change and its effect on our agri-food production systems and how we can actually mitigate this. And my focus here is how we can maximize the organic integrated farming methods in mitigating this agri-climate crisis. Now, we all know that the population of the planet, like the previous speaker said, that it is skyrocketing, that is, it increases on the increase. And the major challenge we are facing now is the provision of food. And as such, the need of the hour is sustainable cultivation and production of food for all. The Green Revolution and its chemical-based technology are losing its appeals as dividends are falling and returns are completely unsustainable. As such, pollution and climate change are other negative externalities caused by the use of fossil fuel-based chemicals. Now, in spite of our diet choices, organic food, of course, is the best choice we'll ever make, basically to avoid pesticides and GMOs. But do you know that organic farming can help mitigate climate change, as well as helping farmers adapt to changing climate conditions? Adopting and practicing organic integrated agriculture at a time like this will help in sustaining the health of soils, ecosystem, and people. Now, what is organic farming? Well, I know it's a word that we are very conversant with, but most times we may not be able to actually say this is what organic farming is. Now, for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to define organic farming. Organic farming is defined as a technique of naturally producing crops and vegetables, as well as rearing of animals, without harming the environment, which comprise of people, animals, as well as other microorganisms. It is a method of farming that improves the ecosystem, soil, and human health. In organic agriculture, organic farmers rely on natural cycles, processes, and biodiversities that are adapted to local conditions rather than man-made inputs like chemical fertilizers, insecticides, herbicides. GMOs, which is genetically modified organisms, are used in inorganic farming to boost crop productivity, but are not allowed in organic farming. Now, organic food, like we all know, is not just a trend, but as already proposed by experts, is the future of agriculture. This is because the process involved in producing them is not just sustainable, but environmentally friendly. So how does it work? Organic integrated agriculture mitigates climate change by reducing direct and indirect sources of greenhouse gas emissions and acts as carbon sink via soil carbon sequestration. Also, organic integrated agriculture helps adapt to climate change by promoting soil health, biodiversity, and resilient agro-ecosystems. Now, when we talk about greenhouse emissions, it's a word we are very used to. How does it affect us? What does it actually mean? Now, greenhouses are those gases in the atmosphere that have an influence on the Earth's energy balance. Now, when we talk about greenhouse gas emissions, we know that global emissions from crop and livestock agriculture have risen greatly. In fact, in 2001, it has risen from 4.7 billion tons to more than 5.3 billion tons currently. And that is more than 14% increase. So what are we talking about? Organic agriculture can help to tackle climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. There is direct correlation between nitrous oxide emissions and the amount of nitrogen fertilizer applied to agricultural land. Nitrous oxide emissions from managed soils account for almost 40% of agricultural emissions. This is particularly important because the impact of just 1 kilo of nitrous oxide on warming the atmosphere is about 300 times greater than the impact of 1 kilo of carbon dioxide. Now, because organic farming does not allow the use of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers, focusing instead on establishing closed nitrogen cycle, minimizing losses via runoff, volatilization, and emissions, nitrogen levels on organic farms tend to be lower per hectare than on conventional farms, which can contribute to a sustainable, climate-friendly production system that delivers enough food. So when we key into using organic system of farming instead of the organic method, we are actually helping ourselves and helping our environment get healthier. Now, another way that organic farm can actually help in mitigating this climate change effect is that it helps to reduce energy use. How? Because conventional farming uses vast quantities of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. It takes significant amounts of energy to manufacture these chemicals. Organic agriculture minimizes energy consumption by 30 to 70% per unit of land by eliminating the energy required to manufacture synthetic fertilizer and by using internal farm inputs. Now, when we're talking about integrated farming, you find out that everything in the farm, there is no waste. Everything in the farm is being used on the farm. You produce the food in the farm, the waste from the cropping section is used to feed the animals. The waste from the livestock is used, and so you find that energy is minimized. You reduce energy, so you reduce the fuel. Of course, the fuel used for transportation and everything. How else can organic farming help? By helping farmers to adapt to climate change. How? Organic agriculture can help combat global warming by storing carbon in the soil. Many management practices used by organic agriculture, such as returning crop residues to the soil, the use of cover crops and rotation, the greater integration of nitrogen-fixing legumes, increase the return of carbon to the soil. This raises productivity and favors carbon storage. Put simply, this means more carbon is stored in the soil, which means less carbon in the atmosphere. Now we're going to talk more about storing carbon in the soil. As the climate changes, farmers are facing many challenges. More unpredictable rains, soil degradation, new and different pests and diseases, and so many. Now, organic agriculture helps farmers adapt to climate change because high soil organic matter content and soil cover help to prevent nutrient and water loss. This makes the soil more resilient to floods, droughts, and land degradation processes. The people working in organic food systems also work hard to preserve seed and crop diversity. This increases crop resistance to pests and diseases. Maintaining this diversity also helps farmers evolve new cropping systems to adapt to climate changes. Overall, organic farming enables farmers to minimize risk as a result of stable agro ecosystems and yield and lower production cost. So what do? We need to advocate for policy change. We therefore advocate for the inclusion of organic agriculture in national government policies on addressing not only climate change, but also hunger and poverty. Organic agriculture has a potential to help reduce carbon emissions, enhance soil fertilities, and improve climate resilience. Therefore, we recommend that number one, government should acknowledge organic agriculture as an effective strategy to reduce greenhouse gases and sequential carbon in the climate agreement. They should help farmers adapt to climate changes by promoting organic agriculture through research and extension services. Secondly, government should include initiatives based on the principles of organic agriculture among their nationally appropriate mitigation actions. So with these few points, I believe that if what we have just talked about is put into place, especially as regards organic integrated farming in mitigating agri-climate crisis, I am sure that we'll go beyond just talking, but acting, and we'll see a definite change. Thank you all. Right, okay, I'm through.
presenter is will take us on climate science in agriculture. Pastor Sam Eluche is attending to in corporate finance, a chartered accountant, senior banker, specializing in corporate trade and finance. CEO, Consultancy Limited. He is also the CEO of Microsources and Investment Limited. He is also the president of Integrated Youth Farmers Cooperative Society Limited. He has experience of 10 years in agri and SME finance. Pastor Sam, the floor is yours. You're welcome.
Hello, good evening, all. I hope you are hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, you are welcome to this wonderful Zoom meeting or webinar. My name is Pastor Sam Eluche. I hope that the few minutes given to me will throw a very big insight into agri financing as regards to climate smart agriculture. I hope those who are listening to me are already practicing agri entrepreneurs, or are they theorists? Are you a political farmer or a social farmer? Because you can only benefit from me if you are a practical farmer. I've listened very keenly on what others have said. All about agri-financing and as regards to climate smart agriculture is quite different from what's obtainable in other agricultural endeavors, a conventional, traditional agriculture. If you get it, it requires a lot of knowledge. You must be very, very conversant with the process. And that's why the financial institutions, they finance agriculture, smart agriculture, the agriculture, climate smart agriculture on your, what they call on the cash flow, or your cash flow budgets. Okay, yes, it's cash flow based financing. It's not actually on collateral because nobody is interested in selling your land or selling your crops. So that is the secret. You must get your cash flow very well. And how do you get your cash flow very well? Although in sources of finance, the financial institutions may be the last resort. But even if you are going for grants, grant is actually also one of the sources of financing. Personal savings, is also one of the sources. Friends and relations also are sources of financing. I'm actually trying to expatiate the various sources of financing you can get in agriculture, and more importantly on climate smart agriculture. But the point I want to stress here, climate smart agriculture is expensive. Why is it expensive? It requires knowledge and process. It also requires technology. I hope you are listening to me. Hello?
Yes, you are here, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm only hearing one voice. Yeah. So I want to know
We
that
are
you.
still,
Okay.
we are
Now
with
it requires a very slow. So um, it requires technology. It requires knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, you will not be able to calculate your yield because um, the climate smart agriculture requires you to be, it's a business. You must be economical. You must do your cost benefit analysis very, very well. So you cannot do any business when their cost is more than your benefits. You can only mitigate your risk in ag. There are a lot of risk in agriculture, but you can mitigate your risk through proper process, through understanding of the process of how the production is being done, the necessary process of land clearing, land preparation, when to apply your organic fertilizer, when to do your weeding, how to treat your pests, how to identify the various, and how to even to mitigate the pest infestation of your farms, and how to do your proper harvesting. Now, all these are various things you must know, and it must be incorporated in your cash flow. Now, there are various window options I have mentioned in the various sources of finance, and you must be ready to optimize all the various sources of finance because climate smart agriculture is expensive. It means that you must make provision for irrigation system. You must make provision for solar system. In fact, you must rely on solar as a primary source of your energy, which is the cheapest. Yeah, for you to have your borehole, and you must have irrigation system. Without irrigation system, you're not talking about climate smart agriculture. We must talk about greenhouse development. We must talk about organic fertilizer, which is, so you must talk about integrated farm system. These are the features of um, um, climate smart agriculture. So you can see that all the components are very, very expensive. You must get it done. So unlike ordinary hoe and cutlass, and you can even use it anytime it rains, and you can go into the farm. When it's not raining, you go out of the climate. Smart agriculture means that you are going to farm throughout the whole year. Yes, and you have to understand. So the first thing, the financier or somebody that will give you the grant will want to find out whether you have the knowledge. Okay, whether you have the knowledge of what you're doing, whether you can be able to calculate your yield, whether you can be able to calculate your costs, you can be able to calculate all the nitty-gritty of their costs. What are their cost components? Their cost component is the cost of land, or either by leasing or you have bought land, the land preparations, land clearing, land preparations, the cost of your organic fertilizer, the cost of labor for weeding, the cost of labor for fertilizing your crops, okay, the cost of labor for pest controls, and weeding and the cost of harvesting. So you have to make provision for all these necessary costs, even the cost of security. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now, how do you get this financing? How do you get it? Number one, as an entrepreneur, as an agri-entrepreneur, you must be disciplined. You must have personal savings. You must try to save. In as much as you want to borrow from the bank or grants or neighbors or friends or relations, you cannot do very well effectively if you cannot be able to save yourself. So you personal savings, and you must start something small. Start something small. When people see that you are doing well, they can have confidence in investing in you. You can get from friends, you can get from relations. You can also approach us to package you for grants. We can also package you for bank loans. There are a lot of access. We have central bank loans called the Agri Guarantee Scheme, Agri Guarantee Scheme loan for small holders, farmers. We have a commercial agri credit scheme. We have commercial agri credit scheme. Okay. Also, we also have a AGME. You know, it's AGME loans for small and medium entrepreneurs in agriculture. Okay. There are a lot of banking intervention funds for those that are involved in agriculture. But you see, most of the time, you must inculcate the cost of your insurance. You must ensure that all your agri activity, you also insure them through Nigerian Agri Incorporation Company. The NAIC is the one that's involved in agri. Federal government is actually have a kind of subsidy on the premium on NAIC, so it's cheaper than other insurance companies. So all about agri financing on climate smart agriculture is actually very, very wide, and you can do better when you meet consultants like us. We guide you. It's not a thing you know in a day or in a second or in an hour. We'll guide you very, very well, so that we have helped a lot of people to access funding, and in a very cheaper way. In fact, the cardinal point here is that you must access funds that is cheap. Agriculture requires cheap funds. If you are borrowing, it must be at a very cheap borrowing, because the yield in agriculture, the return on capital employed in agriculture is not as high in buying and selling. And you must be patient with agricultural business. Those who normally have failures in agricultural endeavors are actually those who are very zealous and who think that agriculture is over, you become rich overnight. No, there is profit in agriculture, but it's a long-term profit, and you have to watch and study the terrain and do it well. Basically, then the issue about these are technical issues. Agri-financing is actually very, very technical. So assuming that we have illustrations, I will make a lot of illustration on the board, but Domendo, you can pick up my phone, you take my number 081 64 66 0264. You can always call on me. You can always call on me, or you contact Domendo. My number is 081 64 66 0264. I can help you to solve any problem on financing as far as your agriculture is concerned. Either it's cropping or livestock, I'm always available there. I'm also an agri consultant. apart from agri-financing, agri-production consultants. So we also do it. So we can help you. The most important thing is to be profitable using the resources within your reach to achieve your goal. Thank you very much. Any question, please? Somebody is raising up. Any question, please? Has the class slept? Hello?
Hello? Yes, sir. We are with.
Is the class sleeping? Any question? I finished my lecture though.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Pastor Sam, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that presentation.
Yeah.
We appreciate. The
Thank
next
you so
presenter,
much.
I gave my phone number. I hope people got it. I hope you got my phone number.
you can also drop it on the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sir Samuel.
The next presenter we have is the source for sustainable agri to mitigate climate change. Money is global of ages. The passion environment. Hello, Mr. Winston.
Hello, sir. I don't know if it's from my end, but your network is not strong. Can anyone confirm whether if it's from my end? Hello. Hello, sir. Sir Domendu, I don't know. I can't hear you. The network is breaking. I'm trying to confirm it if it's from my end or it's from your end so
It's
that
from
I can know that if I.
you can go on, we can hear you.
Okay.
The network
All right.
is
So it's from what?
it's from Domendu's end.
Okay. Okay.
You can go on, we can
Okay.
hear.
Okay. How many minutes do I have?
Okay, we have to 7:30.
Okay. I think I'll be brief. I'll be brief because my laptop has already died, so I switched over to my phone. So and it will also die very soon. Okay, so thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. I'll be talking about solar energy as it relates to agricultural practice. The
Hello? Are you still there? Hello, Mr. Valentine, can you hear us? Can you kindly confirm to the chat box?
Hello, friend.
All right. Good to have you
Matthias
back.
here in Ghana. So to stop their crops like it's spoiling. So basically it helps instead of this usual five. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know what's happening. So just like I was saying, the impact of solar energy in agriculture is so enormous. There are so many solutions out there. So I'll be just giving a brief about these solutions and how it helps agriculture to move forward. So I was talking about my friend that runs a solar cold room in Ghana. So it basically helps farmers to actually extend the shell life of their products to more than 20 days. So as you just imagine you have a tomato and this solution can actually help to extend the shelf life of that tomato. So it actually helps in reducing food spoilage. Then the I'll be talking about is we have solar pumps. So we can basically use solar pumps as actually in terms of mechanization. Instead of having people to actually run these solar pumps, we can instead of actually have people to run these manual pumps, we can actually have solar systems that can actually operate these solar pumps. Then we also have remote operation of agriculture through remote So there are actually useful solutions here. For instance, supply crops to livestock using automated process powered by solar energy. So it actually helps. This actually comes in place where we have commercialization in farming. So we can actually employ this process and it will actually save a lot of time and energy. And then it also saves the time of having so many people operating on your farm, and then the output will be so enormous. So there are so many benefits of solar energy in farming. Then the disadvantage there, for me, I feel the disadvantage there is actually the cost, because solar energy is cost intensive for anyone to actually start operating with solar energy. It's cost intensive. But then if you can actually have grants and support from government, then it will actually help farmers to actually help them in making sure that they switch over to solar energy. So I believe this is actually a brief rundown of the impact of solar energy as it relates to agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine, for that
Thank you, sir.
that climate is to meet agriculture.
Excuse me, sir. I'm struggling to hear you, to hear what you're saying.
Okay, we have talked about agri-ecology, integrated farming, talked about climate crisis, agriculture. Good agricultural practices is very difficult, even especially during farmers find it difficult. If you go there in the locals, in the community, they have nothing doing during the dry season. Farmers, there is food shortage during the dry season. They have high cost of food importation. They spend more in buying despite their farmers. If you ask what are they doing, they have nothing to show for it because it's not sustainable. They just depend on the rainfall. So it's not a good practice. All stakeholders to come together, especially in the COP28 conference that will be holding in UAE. There is need for people, youths, representing the states, communities, agri. It's an integral point for climate change. Because without food, I don't think everybody wants to survive on this planet. For instance, Imo State, they are known for oil palm, cassava. For recent time, a lot of have interest in sustaining the farming. The farmers are taken away, maybe by government. You see people racist structures. Some people sold their farmlands. And you see many people coming to the cities. I get to the cities, everyone in the city, nobody is there, is vacant. No activity is going on everywhere, bushes everywhere. So there's need for stakeholders to come in. Let's revive agriculture. Let's make agriculture for all. I'll be wrapping this event handing over to our network, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sir. So we are done with this webinar. It's not yet over. We'll continue to sensitize people, continue to sensitize more light about climate change. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Imo State team, we are grateful. Thank you to the presenters, Pastor Sam, Mary Pius, Choma Perpetua, and Amanda. Thanks so much for. Then those that joined us, I can see on the group chat, Pastor Edward Lepanya. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah.
Everyone. Hello.